Hey guys, we're wrapping up a series on forgiveness called Moving On. Today we're going to talk about one of the hardest parts about forgiveness, the waiting part. It's kind of like going on a really long road trip. And that's how I think forgiveness feels the same way. When forgiveness doesn't happen immediately, it can be difficult to be patient through that process. When we talk about this idea of forgiveness, we're talking about letting go of negative feelings that we have towards someone who's hurt, harmed, or disappointed us, regardless of whether they actually deserve or want our forgiveness. And while that sounds pretty good, in reality, it isn't always easy. Because forgiveness takes more than a moment. It often requires us to wait. Things don't always get better right away simply because someone apologized. Hurts don't stop hurting just because you've asked for forgiveness. More often than not, forgiveness takes longer than we would actually like it to. Maybe you've been hurt by someone in your life, like a parent or a friend or a sibling or even a teammate. And maybe that person even came to you and apologized and asked you for your forgiveness. Maybe you accepted that apology and told them that you were ready to forgive and move on. That all sounds great, but any of us who have been in that position before knows that it's not always that simple. Because sometimes you forgive and nothing changes. That all probably leaves us asking the question, why should we forgive someone? Or even ourselves if things don't change? Does it even matter if it doesn't work the way that we want it to? Is forgiveness really worth the wait? The good news is that people have been asking questions about this idea for forgiveness for like a really long time. And I think that's because it's a really important thing that is in our lives. How do I know? Well, because Jesus himself actually talked about it when he was here on earth. During that time, Jesus spent a lot of time with 12 close friends and followers. We know these guys as his disciples. And because he was with them, Jesus went out of his way to teach his disciples how to live a life that reflected their relationship with him. One day, one of the disciples asked Jesus a question about forgiveness. Let's take a look. So, what do we do with this? Since forgiveness takes time, how do we keep going? How can we continue to forgive even when it feels like nothing changes right away? Well, there are a few things that I want you to remember about forgiveness as you give this a try in your life. First, it takes practice. Just like anything worthwhile, forgiveness takes practice. You didn't master those cool longboarding tricks overnight. You didn't become the best gymnast after one meet. No, you had to practice. You had to show up and keep showing up. You had to keep going even when it felt like it wasn't working as quickly as you wanted it to. Forgiveness is an invitation to practice choosing to move from the pain that someone or something has caused you, whether they deserve that forgiveness or not. And that can be hard. It takes practice, so keep at it. Practice forgiving little things. And then for the thing that may feel bigger, practice forgiving over and over and over again. The more you do it, the easier it will become. And the second thing you can do is ask for help. Forgiveness isn't easy. It's not supposed to work right away. It's a healing process, and healing takes time. It doesn't happen the moment that you forgive. So don't give up if it doesn't feel like it's working. Pray that God will help you remember the words of Jesus, to forgive over and over and over again. And then ask for help as you keep doing that. Go to God for help. Talk to your small group leader for encouragement, or find a friend to help you as you move on. And the third thing, it's okay if things change. Remember, forgiveness doesn't promise that everything will get fixed right away. And I want you to know today that sometimes part of forgiveness means the relationship changes. Things don't always go back to the way they were, and sometimes they shouldn't go back to the way they were. You might forgive and still decide to break up. You might forgive and still need some space from that friendship. Many times, those are actually good things that will make your life better. And as you think about what you might look like in your life, remember that it's okay if the relationship changes. And the fourth thing, it's about you. When someone wrongs you, they're not always gonna ask for forgiveness. And that definitely makes forgiving them harder to do. But in those moments, remember that forgiveness isn't just about them. It's also about you. Forgiveness will make your life better in the long run. It will help you heal from the hurt that you've experienced. It will help you move forward and move on from negative emotions and bad situations in your life. So whether the other person changes or not, choose to forgive for yourself. Here's something important that I want you to know. Forgiveness doesn't mean that those who hurt you shouldn't experience consequences for what they've done to you, especially if they've abused you in any kind of way. If that's you, I'm so sorry that you've been hurt in this way. What happened to you is absolutely not your fault, and the best step that you can take moving forward is to tell someone about it. I want to encourage you to tell your small group leader or another adult here that you trust. They want to help you and support you and your needs. We spent the last 3 weeks talking about this whole forgiveness thing because it's something that we'll have to deal with for the rest of our lives. We'll find ourselves needing to forgive someone else, and we'll also be in situations where we need to forgive ourselves. The truth is, it's not always going to be easy, which is why it's important to have people we trust and who we can talk to about that with. That's exactly why we have The Landing. That is a place where you can keep conversations about forgiveness going. It's a place where you can talk about the process of forgiveness as you experience it. So I hope that you'll start sharing with your Landing group about how you feel about forgiveness today. Remember, when you don't forgive, it hurts you. Everybody needs forgiveness, and forgiveness takes time. And even if it requires a lot of time, I promise that it'll be worth every second as it changes you and helps you move on.